So-called modern Egyptians claim they are not Arab, yet their country champions the name Arab Republic of Egypt. In 1953, Egypt became the Arab Republic of Egypt under the administration of President Gamal Nasser, who was also a pan-Arab nationalist, but one of the first to spark the pan-Arab nationalism in Egypt was Egyptian politician Abdul Rahman Azam, who would later become the first Secretary General of the Arab League. Azam wrote an article titled, "Is Egypt Not Arab?" Azam went on to affirm the Arabness of Egyptians, declaring that Egyptians accepted the religion of Arabs, the customs of Arabs, the language of Arabs, the civilization of Arabs, and became more Arab than the Arabs. Also adding that from researching some ancestry of some Egyptian provinces, that the majority of its people's blood is derived from the Arab race. Azam denied that the current Egyptian population was a continuation of the ancient Egyptians. Azam concluded his article by criticizing all nationalist tendencies which contradicted Arab nationalism. Azam's article is what led to the pharaonism movement. Pharaonism is an ideology that rose to prominence in Egypt. It looked at Egypt's pre-Islamic past and argued that Egypt was part of the larger Mediterranean civilization. This ideology stressed the role of Nile River and the Mediterranean Sea. Pharaonism's most notable advocate was Taha Hassin. Hassin insisted that Pharaonism was a part of the Egyptian composition and would remain so, and that the Egyptians were Egyptian before anything else. He further claimed that the vast majority of Egyptians do not have Arab blood in them, but are direct descendants of the ancient Egyptians. In response to Hassin, the Syrian intellectual Sati al-Hirsi wrote the Arab unity did not require Egyptians to surrender their Egyptianness, further denied Hassin's statement on the lineage of modern Egyptians being derived from the ancient Egyptians, declaring that all scientific tests indicated that there are no nations on the face of the planet that are pure-blooded. Al-Hirsi further criticized Hassin's statement that the history of Egypt was independent from the history of any other nation, declaring that the history of Egypt in fact intermixed on a deep level with histories such as Nubians and other Arab countries. What you should take from this is that all the people who are arguing over who's Egyptian and who's Arab all live in Lower Egypt. This will play a pivotal role later on in the video. In 2017, National Geographic concluded that the Egyptian population is only 17% Arab and 68% indigenous North African, and the Arab Egyptomaniacs rejoiced in victory. But obviously modern Egyptians either don't care or just don't know that National Geographic took that study down. Today you will only find the National Geographic study referenced on pseudo websites that promote pharaonism, but never in a real scientific paper. Although the study has long been taken down, modern Arab Egyptomaniacs continue to promote and misinterpret the study. They are under the assumption that the majority of Egyptians' autosomal DNA is comprised of 17% Arab and 68% indigenous North African. And this is false because the National Geographic study was not based on autosomal DNA, it was based on haplogroups. The study was referencing the Arabs' J1 lineage and the North African E lineage, EM78 being the dominant E lineage in Egypt. Based on archaeological data, the origin of EM78 existed on the border of present-day Sudan and Egypt, near Lake Nubia. That's near the Tropic of Cancer. Everything that originated in that region was black. Furthermore, the Massaut people of Sudan possesses by far the highest frequency of EM78, and they are non-Semitic speaking people. But let's break down that 68% indigenous North African DNA. The majority of that 68% EM78 is in the subclad of B12. 50% of that 68% is found in southern Egypt among the Nubians and Cushitic type. Modern Egyptians who promote pharaonism and say that even the Nubian Egyptians are not the original ancient Egyptians are mainly from the Nile Delta, places like Cairo and Alexandria. They are not 68% North African. They are only 23% EM78 in the subclad of B22. Also, National Geographic never gave a breakdown on which Egyptian population had the highest concentration of the indigenous North African component. My guess is that when they found out that it came from the darker skinned population, they took the study down. You only find V12 almost exclusively in southern Egypt, going into the Sudan, among Cushitic and Nilo-Saharan speaking people. The Beja people are V12. The Nubian people are V12. The Dinka are V12. The Sudanese Coptics are V12. Don't let Sudanese Coptics throw you off, because there are several black Sudanese Coptics. Again, the pale-skinned Egyptians from Cairo and other parts of the Delta subclade of EM78 is V22. Also, Libyan Arabs have a pretty decent percentage of V22. The highest concentration of V22 is not found in Africa, it's found in Western Asia among the Samaritan people. According to some scholars, the earliest V22 outside of Africa is found in Saudi Arabia and among the United Arab Emirates. So specifically, the Egyptians living in the Delta, the ones who promote racist ideas of ancient Egypt not being founded by people who would be considered black, the ones who were upset about Kevin Hart, the ones so outraged by mixed race Cleopatra are indeed Arabs. They are not the descendants of the pharaohs. At best, they descend from the Greeks, the Arabs, the Turks, and those intermediate people that came from Western Asia and settled in the Nile Delta in the 12th dynasty.
No disrespect, you're an Arab. You came in after an ancient civilization had already fallen a couple of times. You are not the ancient Egyptians. Is that anti-Semitic to say?